Welcome to the Clarity Games with your hosts Lynn, Elaine, and Greg.
Let's welcome today's contestant, our special guest, Lillan Baruch.
Now let's play some Clarity Games.
So game 6, it's all connected. So for 1 to 2 minutes, player 1 shares how it is they came to be here today playing this game. And then for 10 minutes, player 2 picks something from that story and asks how that came to be. And player 1 tells that story, and the process continues until the time is up. The other players listen for metaphors, language patterns, and feeling changes and report what they've observed at the end of the game. And we'll wrap up with 5 minutes of all players discussing and sharing. So, Elaine, do you want to be player 2? Just because Lynn already knows the story.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, hopefully I will have something to maybe add to that. I'm sure you'll step in, Greg, if I'm
if you
completely
don't, just
useless. Yes.
just put up your hand and we'll jump in. So I'm going to just set my timer quickly for 2 minutes. And Lillan, this is your opportunity to let us know, how is it that you came to be here today playing this game with us?
I like that is the question in this game, because that is the story. That is my story of today. I've always been looking for houses in another country for whatever reason. I love houses. That's point number 1. Then at some stage I thought, I'm 66 now. Am I going to be in this freezing cold weather in Amsterdam all the rest of my life? Sit here. I'm single. I have a grown-up daughter. I was sort of leaving the corporate world job and retrained to be a coach. And I thought, gee, am I then going to work online in a rather small apartment in Amsterdam, no nature? And is this the way it's going to be for the next 20 years? I just could not imagine that happening. So on my search for a house somewhere, I was in Portugal, I was in Spain, I was in Italy. One day I saw a message of a friend selling her house in the area which is called Costa Blanca. I went, I saw the house, I hated it. I thought, never ever going to live there. But whilst I was driving around, I thought, wow, this is a really beautiful area. Maybe this is where I want to be. So long story short, I found a house. For the last 1.5 years, I've been renovating the house and being really happy there. And then, of course, I wanted to meet other people because I went there all on my own. I didn't know anybody, not a soul, that lived in that area, or even like very far away from that village. And so on Facebook one day there was a notification saying, is anybody interested in the starting of a coaching circle in Gavia, which is a village half an hour drives away from me? And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. That's exactly where I want to be. I want to meet other coaches. I want to have connection with other people, meet like-minded people. I'm not a heavy drinker, so going to pubs doesn't solve my problem of meeting other people. So preferably, with a content, with something to say. And so I joined. That's a year ago. Hence, I met Lynn, and that's the reason why I'm here in the game, I think. Am I too fast? Should I say more?
No, that's perfect. You're right on time.
Yeah, perfect.
Wow.
All right. So over to you, Elaine.
Yeah. Lots of stuff in there. I love the approach. It's just like, isn't it kind of obvious that we do things according to our values? Like, full stop. That's it. Like, she obviously loves nature. She loves, being out and about. Doesn't like nasty weather, but who does, of course. Even if you're born there, you still, you kind of think you can have a choice over the weather, but there you go. So, indeed, she does have a choice. She's going to move. It's dead simple. It was interesting that I wonder what home means for Lillan.
Oh, you spotted it.
And I wonder if she knows how natural and instinctive and beautiful it is, just quite plain simply want to be connected with other people. That is a huge driving force and a natural part of us. That I love the way she just sort of does those things, because I hear many people like, oh, I'm so unhappy here and I'm so miserable there, and you haven't got any friends, but like it's just so motivating and positive listening to her. It's amazing, wonderful. Yeah. They were my few observations. Yeah.
So what was the wonder, Elaine? You wonder what home means to Lillan?
Yeah, the home was sort of, I would be really curious to know more in particular about sort of, I like, she said, I like houses. And I thought, well, yeah. But then there was obviously a whole lot of, around about that, because yes, house, but it has to be in a nice place. House, but the weather has to be good. House, but I wonder what else is going on there with house as I don't know. I mean, it's the same for any English. I think there's, we distinguish between house and home in the English language. Yeah.
So am I next?
Yeah. Anything around that for you, Lillan? Around?
Yeah, I very much distinguish between house and home. Very much so. So for me, house and houses, multiple, is bricks. I don't get very attached to them. So I tend to make them beautiful, at least to my opinion. And then I leave them again. But I do believe we are here in this world, Earth, to take good care of things around us. So I am a believer that I'm here to take care of the houses I at least temporarily live in. So I make sure they're in very good state before I pass them on. But you kind of made me thinking, well, you make me think a lot when you ask about what is home for me. Ooh, that is a more complicated one, because what is home for me? I call myself a nomad these days. I love that. And I mean, there's start to find little bits and pieces of the puzzle of what home really is. So home also represents people, of course, around me. Very much, or of course, I don't know if that's true for other people, but it's true for me. Home is a visually attractive environment, which is kind of peaceful and restful. Which again is of course very subjective. What I find that doesn't necessarily is not necessarily the same for other people. Home is where I can invite friends, and home is an inviting place. I think that's a better word. An inviting place where people want to come, where people will feel at ease. I love taking care of people. I love to have the possibility to cook for people, to make them feel, well, happy, at least for a short period of time. I think those things represent home. Yeah. Is that equal house? Not necessarily. But home has been coming up a lot lately. What is home for me?
Yeah. And I would just add to that, or ask you a question, like, what if you, let's say, were open to believe that home is not subjective?
Oh, okay. So home is the same for everyone? It's a definition that is like valid for every person. Is that the idea?
It was a what if.
Yeah.
What if? Yeah.
What if that's true? Then I'm probably not very good at it.
Well, hang on. I'll give you a hand. What is true is true. It's not something that you're actually good at or not. It just is.
True. Yeah. Yeah, I think if that were true, I think home is definitely a safe place. Yeah, it's like safe really stands out for me. If it were not subjective, then it should be safe. It should have enough. Not necessarily defined what enough is, but there should be enough food, possibilities, options to call it a home.
Mhm.
I think it should also be protective of the people inside.
Mm.
Safe, protective. Kind of plentiful, but that can also be emotional. Doesn't have to mean means.
And what if it were a feeling?
Mm. If it's a feeling, if it were a feeling, I would say it's warm. Predominantly warm. Yeah.
To go with the weather, presumably.
No, no, I'm not with, nowhere near thinking about the weather. No, I wasn't. I was not thinking about the weather at all. No, no, no. It's kind of yeah, I keep feeling warm.
Mm.
Like a warm feeling. Not that I like them, but it's kind of sitting in front of the fireplace as well. Cozy, warm. Yeah, those again.
Cool. And what if that warm feeling were available to you all of the time, wherever you are?
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I think part of the fact that I call myself a nomad is that I find it to be true in many places.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm able to be a nomad because I can be in somebody else's house. I can be in a totally unknown place and still feel like it's home, my home. And also my home is not my home can be temporary physically. So the physical place doesn't need to be a permanent place, which is of course what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess, yeah, that's kind of what I was asking. And I was also kind of wondering if at that point, could you place home in a different place that is not outside of you? With the warmth and the safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of, I go back to what I said earlier, because it's kind of inside me and it's safe. And it's safe in me. And fulfilling comes up. Which is definitely one of my, is it one of my values? No, it's not one of my values. I've never said that as one of my values, but I'm thinking it is now.
Yeah.
One of my values is inclusivity. So that comes up for me as well. It's like if it's in me, then I can take that anywhere. And I will be okay everywhere I go, no matter who's around me, where I am. It will always, I can always make it home, I think. Feel like home, make it feel like home, sorry.
Yeah.
That's our 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll start the timer for 5 minutes now, and we can just have a discussion about what we heard and things. The word nomad just keeps coming up to me, but not in the context of what a nomad is, but the actual literal no mad. Like as a value or as a persona, or, you know, there's no room or no space in your life for being mad. It's, you know, anyway, that's what was coming up for me. I thought that's a brilliant description. I'm nomad. Like, madness has no place here.
What came up for me were I've written down lots of words and the values are just jumping off the page. So many times, Lillian, I don't know if you realize, but you can't say me, but you did this so many times. Like, all of this is coming right from your heart. And having been in your company, I don't know how many times now, it's palpable. You know, this is who you are. The safety, peaceful, restful, inclusivity. When you said inclusivity and fulfilling, those two words close together, really came out loud and clear for me as to what I've seen of you, and the notion that wherever you are, there's a welcoming spot for others. I really heard, which, and wherever, for how long, wherever, and it's not without, it's not by accident. You know, there's thought and care in that you want that, which I just thought was so beautiful. Mm-hmm.
That the whole discussion about home, and, you know, the phrase that kept coming up in my head was "home is where the heart is," and the fact that you kept you know, putting your hands over the heart was, you know, it's a saying for a reason, I guess.
It's so funny that it never came up for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then the scene you described, the sitting at the fireplace, what, like, the thing that was coming to my mind was just safety. You know, like that, like the safety for you, but also that welcoming, inclusive safety for, you know, whoever shows up at your doorstep. welcoming them in and sit by the fire, have a coffee, I don't know, whatever.
It does happen that way, and I'm afraid there is a lot of madness as well.
Lighthearted madness, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah.
It's really interesting because what Greg and Elaine don't know, Lillian, is that you and I have been having many conversations recently about belonging and where does that come from, and you've just pretty much talked to all of that.
Mm.
I did.
You did. Yeah, you did. Yeah. So thank you.
I kept getting this image when Elaine was talking. When you were saying, like, you know, if home is inside of me, I kept having this image of this little backpack on my back in the form of a house. And then I thought, no way, you know, because this is very physical, not inside of me. This is something I'm then carrying with me.
Mm.
It's not how I feel it. But it was kind of a fun image that kept sort of popping up.
So
Oh,
the contestant shares a goal they want to achieve or something they want to bring into reality. And then the other players take turns asking the following questions, inviting the contestant to time travel. So question one is: imagine standing in the present, looking to a point in the future when future you is achieving your goal. What do you see, hear, feel, or notice? And then question two is: now imagine standing at that point in the future when you're achieving your goal and look back towards the present. Notice what you've been doing through that span of time to achieve your goal. Identify 3 or 4 particularly significant milestones that let you know you're making major progress along the way. 3, standing in that future, looking back to the present, what message, gift, or other resource would that future you send to yourself in the present? And then number 4, return to the present, looking to the future, receive that message, gift, or resource with love and gratitude. And then for 5 minutes, we'll discuss insights, realizations, and impacts that we've experienced. What's a goal you want to achieve or something that you want to bring into reality?
Complicated question to me. one of the goals I would like to achieve is to have 3 days filled with customers regularly and be consistent in my marketing or approach to the outside world to get those, because so far I've just been relying on the universe and hoping that they'll just fall from the sky in my lap and that will work. I have a few, but definitely not 3 full working days. I am procrastinating. I am finding other things interesting day by day. I think, oh yeah, now I have to sit at my computer and write some ads or some promotion material to send to the outside world. And of course, there's always tomorrow or next week or next month or and after. So my goal is definitely at least, let's say 2025, which is not that far in the future, but somewhere there, I would like to have a fuller 3-day work agenda, which means that also I have to worry less about money, which I do at the moment. And to be, let's say, more in the flow of making that happen. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put my hand up and say, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, this will be great. This will be good
You're
for
in
all
good
of us.
company.
Yeah.
All right.
I always think other people succeed perfectly. And it's nice to know already that I'm not alone here.
Yeah, not alone at all.
Indeed.
Oh,
The universe is only working part-time for all of us. So
yeah.
Because we all
Yeah.
rely on it, so how can it?
yeah. All right. So I'll ask the first question, and then maybe Lynn, you can go number 2,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Elaine number 3. And so,
Okay.
Lillan, imagine now that you're standing in the present, but you're looking out to that future of having clients 3 days a week, and you're in flow with that process. When that future you is achieving the goal, what do you see, hear, feel, or notice about that future?
Funny, I see a happy me, a busy me, and I also see a me already starting to think, is this it? Is this it? Is this what I wanted? So is this going to be my life from now on? Which is, restless is a word that comes up a lot for me, because I am restless. There's always something else. So if I have like steady 3 days, the Monday, whatever I choose, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, full of work. Yes, that does a lot for certainty and for finances, but does it do a lot for me, for my well-being? That's not the question I wanted to give myself. I wanted to say I was perfectly satisfied and happy with the way things are then. So a lot of doubt comes up when you ask me to look at that.
So moving on to the next one, actually building on that. So imagine you're there and you've achieved that goal, Lillan, and you're now looking back. So you've achieved the goal that you stated, which is the 3 full days, you're in flow, you have the clients, you're not worrying about money, you're the happy me and busy me. Looking back to now, what have you been doing in the meantime to achieve it?
But if I look from then and I look back, I feel proud. So if I'm looking back from that moment in time, I feel proud of the way I've achieved that, the perseverance, the consistency in the approach to get there, which also makes me realize that what I said earlier to Greg, when I was looking from now, the from now apparently already gives me plenty of saboteurs showing up why I should not be doing that.
Mm.
And then when you ask me to look back from once I get there, I feel a lot of pride. I feel a lot of pride in achieving my goals, in making them happen, in kind of being this diesel engine, that once it gets started, it continues and just make sure that we get there. And you were asking about milestones?
Yeah, can you identify along the way? So let's say we're talking about a year, 3 or 4 milestones that would have helped you get there.
I think a regularity in my approaching the market, my approaching clients, appearing on other people's podcasts.
Mm.
It would be a milestone. I get invited and I never show up so far. It's terrible. I definitely think having a calendar, a structure. I think structure would be one of the milestones. Setting a good structure for myself and sticking to it. So, and I think the first milestone would probably be the first day of 8 hours filled. That would be a celebration moment. Could be.
Mm.
I guess that's it, I think, what I think of now. Oh, structure. Wow, structure, yes.
So, Lillan, you're standing in that future, that one that you've now created for yourself, with your 3 days and all the money you want coming in, and everything else that you spoke about. You spoke about procrastination. You spoke on the other side of procrastination about structure, which because we know that procrastinator is a sure destroyer of any sort of structure you could possibly think about. So you're standing in that future and you're looking back to the present. What message, gift, or other resources would that future you send to your present self?
A whip? Oh, that's not your.
Well, it might.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. I think my first kind of message or gift, I think it would even be a gift, is to give myself an hour a day to literally work on the things I want to work on and make that hour available no matter what happens. That's, by the way, next to this half hour of exercises that I also need to do and also do. So let's do an hour of work and half an hour of exercise, because I do believe that if I do exercise, I will have more stamina or longing to do the work as well. I think that's step one, I think. So that goes very close to structure. What we just mentioned. So maybe building a structure would be a loving thing to do for myself rather than I need to get structure. The other thing I'm already starting to do, but what I want to keep on doing moving forward is either jump in a freezing pool or jump under a freezing shower in the morning to start my day, instead of looking at social media, walking the dog, having a coffee, having another coffee, and then by then it's 11. I haven't done anything. So the cold start is something that it's actually a resource, I noticed, for me. It really gets me started. It gives me so much energy and power. What else? What else? And of course, I've been trained to do this myself as well. So I'm thinking of having this image physical image somewhere on the wall of what it's going to look like when I reach my goals. Don't know what it is. Is it a it's kind of flowery. I don't know why. So I think it's because I think that if things go well, for me, that also means that things blossom or bloom. That is for me, a strong metaphor for success. Spectacular flower painting or something. Nice. If you come across one, please let me know.
So Lillian, I want to
I
invite
have one behind me, actually.
return to the present and looking back out to that future and receive that message and those gifts and resources with love and gratitude. And what do you notice?
I think you also notice I can't stop smiling.
Mm.
So it's it really makes me feel energized. I'm sort of like, okay, let's stop this call now and let's get to work.
Mm.
Yeah, it's inspiring feeling. So it's very inspiring to realize that that's all possible and there. So yes, it is. I'm here again.
Mm.
I am. So yes, it feels really heartwarming. And also it kind of opens a gate. You know, it's kind of like this golden cage that I put myself in.
Mm.
Where, you know, we have all these metaphors of the keys that have been thrown away and but I think now the gates open so that I don't need to hold myself back. Which I never needed to do, of course, but for some reason did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that final sentence. I don't need to hold myself back.
Did I say that? Wow.
That is very powerful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for playing that back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can spend the next 5 minutes or so just sharing anything we want. Really like that time traveling. That your metaphor at the end of the image or the painting of the flowers in the garden, the thing that was coming to me is like if you were to achieve your goal, the flowers for me kind of represent all these clients that you will be serving and helping and nurturing, and this, plentiful garden of all these beautiful flowers. That's the representation of your work.
Oh, wow.
What I loved is when Lillian when you first mentioned structure, and you made a funny face. I can't remember what it was now, but it was about like, who wants that? I don't want that. And then you went from that to, oh, that could be a loving thing, which I just thought that was so beautiful, from going from something that felt constraining to giving. I really
Yeah,
liked
because
that.
it's interesting because when I mentioned it first, I realized immediately that's an old belief. And it's like a limiting belief, an old belief, and it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it in a different way, from a different perspective, different angle. It's interesting also because I got very nervous when this game came up with a goal in the future, because I've never been this person with a goal in the future. I've all my life gone with the flow, and things happen. Yes, I worked hard, of course, and I have achieved things, but they're not necessarily things for which I set a goal up front. I've never been a big believer. I've never needed to be something at some stage in my life, or be it to be somewhere.
Mhm.
I always thought I was in the right place in that time, and I just, did what I needed to do, wanted to do, and it got me somewhere. And I kind of like the surprise as well. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah, I love what you say there, Lillian. Yeah, Lillian, the idea of you like just flowing through life, and like you actually have it very clear that perhaps, because the concrete goal perhaps is not what your heart actually desires, albeit obviously a sensible sort of logical thing to be doing on this planet in a Western kind of environment, obviously. But and in the same way that like you flowing through life, which to me looks like, well, that's exactly who you are.
It is, but I also, the older I get, the more often, of course, I realize that I then didn't do a couple of things that other people do, like building a pension, making sure that there was,
Oh, do all those other people do?
future.
I think you and I need to have a private conversation about
okay.
the pension.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least I know people that do that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
But what I'm suggesting is the flowing bit just flows in amongst and around the procrastination, the other people that have the pension and you don't, and all the rest of those things that belong to this material world. But the flowing will go on.
Exactly, and that's also how I started. I don't know where I'm going to be physically eventually, and I don't need to know. I think that's the most important part. I don't need to know. Lynn, we had this conversation. I just realized, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's where life takes me, or where I take me, or and as we all know, there's so many things happening in the world around us.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And can you also see how procrastination actually plays no part in the you flowing through life?
It never did.
It's you say, oh, I'll have another cup of coffee and I'll do it tomorrow. Well, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, but unless it's something in the garden, of course.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'll do it now. Or if it's something to do with my daughter, or if the dog needs something, then of course there is no procrastination at all.
Exactly.
If it's like important.
Yeah.
By the way, why don't I define my own goals as important? Or are they even goals? Different game, I realize, sorry.
Good question. No, that's a good question.
A good question. Yeah.
That's a good question.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that came up for me. One thing was Jamie shares a thing that Jan Chipman told him once, which was, you can have whatever you want if you really want it. And it was, when you imagined being in that future and you were like, is this it? Is this what I really wanted? So it's like, maybe that's not actually what you want. That's the one part of it. And then the other thing that came for me when you kind of jokingly referenced sending yourself a whip, and like this whole idea around work, and it's like getting down to work and getting the whip out to make yourself do things that you otherwise wouldn't want to do. It's this whole whatever's in that column of work. I just imagine, like, what if your coaching practice wasn't in that column anymore?
That's very interesting.
What if it was in that flowery painting?
Yeah.
Or in that.
What if it was playing in the garden was the equivalent to coaching, building your coaching business?
It is. By the way, it is.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it is there. Because I do think coaching is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it every time. And every client I have, I enjoy. Not necessarily the part of finding them.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good differentiator, I think. Good to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lynn?
It's good to see the differentiation there. What looks like fun and what doesn't, or what feels like fun and what doesn't.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's very arrogant to think that everything can be fun.
Mm.
You know, who am I?
Yeah.
Think that everything I do can be fun. Doesn't seem to be that for a hell of a lot of people on this planet.
Mhm.
So, who am I to wish for that? That also creeps in sometimes,
Yeah.
Mm.
And who aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This metaphor of gardening that keeps coming up for me, like in terms of, reaping what you sow. It's the getting the clients, the marketing, all that is the preparing the soil. It's the digging the trenches. It's the planting. It's the watering. It's all the work that goes into what eventually turns into a beautiful garden that blossoms. But that first chunk of it is, in the moment, seems like thankless, hard, dirty work. I don't know.
Which I genuinely love.
Mm.
I don't mind plowing and getting the soil. I love it. I also love getting dirty, getting my hands dirty, getting my back hurts, but for a good cause, because I was doing this.
Mm.
I totally get what you mean, though, of course.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as doing it without all the prep work.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget that quite simply. Just we lose the connection with the future.
Yeah.
That's all. And then it looks pretty horrible. When you're in it in that moment, and it really is hard work, and it's backache, and it's, oh my goodness, now which button have I got to press on this computer to get some sort of marketing results or whatever it is. But in that exact moment, we've lost the connection with the future goal, with the future objective. And then of course you lose it. You lose the plot completely there. Of course you will. And so I guess it's more about learning how to, not even working your way around the physical things, like how to do the marketing bit or how to grow your garden or how to do that, but keeping highly connected to your future wishes, hopes and aspirations. And keeping that high.
I would always prefer.
Mm.
Interesting. I would prefer wishes and hopes over goals.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we're at time. So maybe Lillian, we'll just wrap up with you. Any final thoughts either on this game or both games or this experience in general? Anything you're taking away that you want to share with us?
Oh, I'm taking away so much. That's going to be another half hour, so maybe not. No, I think what I'm taking away from this one mainly is what Elaine said. I do not need to hold myself back. This is apparently, of course, it's only me doing that. So that's an interesting thought again. The redefinition of goals, I love. So I don't need to have a goal. I can just have a wish or a desire or a hope, which speaks to me louder. And I don't know if you realize it, but the prep for a blossoming garden, that is great. And then you said, or otherwise we lose the plot. Yes, we do lose the plot.
You did, Elaine.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. We do lose the plot. Figuratively.
Literally, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I'll definitely remember and take away. Work on it or you lose the plot. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional.
No, I know. That's what you like about the unintentional things.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well, thanks so much for playing with us today. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, Lillan. Great.
Thanks, Lillan.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I will see you soon.
Yeah, it was fun and I also learned a lot. So thank you very much.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. See you soon. Take care.
Thanks for playing along. We'll see you next time on the Clarity Games.